I think the biggest thing for me personally is just kind of through all of this, I guess I learned that it's okay to fail because multiple times I was signed to the active, I was put to practice squad, or I was sent home active, practice squad, sent home, practice squad, sent home. So it was just multiple times where it was just like, man, what am I doing? Am I not good enough? But every single time that happened, I never quit on myself. I never let anything that anybody say just kind of keep me down. So I think just learning to learn just to keep picking myself back up when I do fail in business or with my gym, because I know it's going to happen. It's inevitable. Nobody's perfect. And just kind of being able to pour that kind of energy into kids, just letting them know, I mean, whatever you want to do, you're going to get knocked down, but just keep telling them that, just to keep believing in yourself, and it'll all work out in the end.
Hey everyone, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Brand Power Analysis. Today I have
Tyrone Swoops.
Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Like I said, my name is Tyrone Swoops, from small town Texas. Went to the University of Texas. Spent about 4 years in the NFL on and off, but just recently retired. Feels weird to say at 26, but yeah, just recently retired and just living life.
Yeah, just living life. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your journey and what led you to where you are now?
So I'm from Texas. Grew up in a small town called Whitewright. I had about 40 people in my graduating class, so it's a really small town. Everybody knows everybody. But I mean, I had a great time here, and of course played football, and especially in small town Texas, well, in Texas in general, high school football is king. So it was a great time, and was blessed to get an offer from one of my dream schools growing up, the University of Texas. So I ended up going there to play quarterback, and played quarterback there for 4 years. Got to meet a lot of great teammates. Unfortunately, had a lot of coaches there too, so it was kind of tough learning new offenses and things like that almost every year. But I mean, I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. Just getting to know a lot of football and learning a lot of football from a lot of great coaches. And then after my senior year, after I graduated college, my agent came with me with the idea to move into tight end, and I thought it was a good idea, so I went for it. And after my pro day, um, Seattle gave me the call, and they wanted me to come up, and I spent 4 years on and off playing tight end with them on practice squad, played a couple games, things like that. And then recently I did a couple short stints with Philly and Washington, but like I said, recently I just decided that I was ready to retire and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been kind of difficult for you. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your transition for in sports and playing in the NFL, and then kind of that transition into what you're doing now, and how you were able, some of the challenges and some of the pros of you kind of moving into that, from that transition.
Yeah, well, the main thing in all of these transitions, which I'll obviously get to, is just my family and my support system. Um, Especially coming from small town Texas, like I said, and going to a campus that's bigger than my whole hometown. It was just kind of overwhelming at first, but being able to find those couple guys on campus on the team, and then also obviously talking to my parents and my family back home, it helped me a lot, just to kind of ease my mind and slow everything down on campus and classroom, on the football field too. And then the transition from quarterback to tight end, that was probably the hardest one out of any transition in life that I've done so far. just because I never played with my hand in the ground at all. I'd always played either before I got to middle school, I played running back. And then once I got to middle school, I started playing quarterback. So it was definitely different. I remember the first day that I thought I was running routes and it was just bad. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it than that. I didn't know how to get in the stance. It was just bad. And so um, leaning on my agent and relying on him to get the right people around me and them watching me and knowing what I needed, they helped me out a lot. And just like I said, my family encouraging me when I would be down on myself, just like thinking it's not going to work. They just kind of always encouraged me and kept me upright and kept me with a positive mindset. And then I guess the most recent transition, it just came from, I mean, just kind of the position that I was in as a player, not really a roster player, kind of just like a bubble player almost everywhere I went, and a practice squad player, and kind of just moving up and down at home on practice squad kind of all the time, and just the instability of the situation that I was in. And I just felt it would be better for me, better for my family, that I just call it quits on my own terms. And so that's ultimately what I decided to do.
How did that feel for you going from, because I know I kind of grew up in a small town too. And I understand how football is really big in the small towns, especially being in Texas, going from that small town feel to being, around a much larger community, being around a much larger fan base. How are you able to cope with that?
It took some time, because in the small town, everybody knows you, and so there's not really any negative talk. Even if you do have a bad game, there's not really any kind of negative things said about you in or around the community. But once you get to the college level, it's just a free for all. If you do one wrong move, then everybody's criticizing what you do. And that was one thing for sure that I was kind of having problems with, just seeing everybody, every newspaper, the fan boards or whatever they're called, just critiquing everything that I do. And I just felt like I couldn't do anything right at sometimes. And so, like I said, just leaning on the people that I know are important to me and I'm important to them, and letting their opinions speak the most to me.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, and I hear that from a lot of my clients and other athletes as well, of that the transition and how hard it is. And a lot of sports fans don't understand that yes, you do have a job, you do have to do your worth, but at the same time it gets to you, and it's a lot like business, it's a lot like normal life stuff too, where it really does get to you. And having that family around and having other people around to kind of keep you level-headed is definitely like a very good positive for a lot of athletes, especially younger athletes that are pushing towards that direction, to really understand that, hey, try to not really ignore, but take criticism for what it's worth, and maybe it will teach you something, but at the same time, don't let it get to your heart, because it's definitely, there's a lot of people out there and you're not going to please everybody.
Right. Yeah, that's the main thing.
So what are you doing now that you've kind of decided to, step out? You're back in Texas, I take it?
Yes, I'm back in about 20 minutes away from where I grew up. So I'm real close to my mom and my brother, and my dad's about an hour away. So I'm here with my wife and my dog, and just right now kind of figuring out what exactly I want to do. But I think I'm going to try to get into the fire service, try to do that. And then because you work, I think, like 3 days out of the week. And so on my days off, I'm working to get my personal training, strength and conditioning, and dietitian licenses, so I can do that on my days off. So that's the plan for right now. It could change tomorrow, but as of today, that's what I plan on doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's always during this transition period. I mean, it's very similar to when kids start to go into college. You're at that point where you're like, oh, what do I do? How do I leverage kind of the skills and the sets that I have? What degree did you get when you were in college?
I got a bachelor's in physical culture and sports.
Oh, okay, perfect,
Mm-hmm.
perfect. No, that's great. Yeah, it's sports performance. I think that you definitely have a legs up into helping younger athletes or helping individuals with that stuff. And so, getting into that stuff, the fire stuff, and I mean, you're at that age where I was when I was kind of like at the point where I realized, life and family commitment and all that stuff of work to life balance. And so it seems pretty great that you're already taking that into consideration when it comes to, hey, I can kind of do this for a few days a week, still help out the community with how I can do it, but also kind of have my days for the family. And so, did you have any other athletes or mentors that you've kind of looked up to as you've started to go down some of these paths?
Not really anybody in particular. I mean, I'm not really loud, kind of outspoken guy. I kind of stick to the people that I've known and that I know. So outside of like I've said multiple times, my family and the people in my community that I know, I um, haven't really looked at or kind of paid attention too much about football. Really, I've kind of almost shut it out for the last couple weeks since I decided that I was done. So I know once the regular season comes around, I'll start looking and watching again. But as of right now, I'm just kind of, like I said, just living life.
Yeah, mental health is definitely a huge thing you have to take in consideration, and I totally understand just turning off the brain for a while. And so I again, I appreciate you being on the podcast, especially since we're kind of talking about it a little bit. So as you take this leap, in this transition over, and you're starting to do your dietary stuff and trying to learn the ins and outs of your performance coaching. Are your thoughts into creating your own business around it? Are your thoughts into going to work for another sports performance location? What are your thought processes on that?
Ultimately, me and my wife talked about it multiple times, and ultimately, we want to create our own gym because kind of out where we are, um, you got to go like 30, 45 minutes an hour to get to kind of like a sports performance place where you have good reliable equipment and kind of what you need to get better at your craft or whatever you're doing. So that's the end goal. But for right now, it will probably be going to work for somebody else and just learning what to do, what not to do, what I like and what I would change, and just things like that. Just learning from other people before I take that step.
What makes you, as being a retired athlete and the stuff that you learned in the game, what kind of legs up or what kind of experiences that did you learn that you think that are going to help you along your journey, through kind of your long going journey on eventually opening your own gym?
I think the biggest thing for me personally is just kind of through all of this, I guess I learned that it's okay to fail, because multiple times I was signed to the active, I was put to practice squad, or I was sent home active, practice squad, sent home, practice squad, sent home. So it was just multiple times where it was just like, man, what am I doing? Am I not good enough? But every single time that happened, I never quit on myself. I never let anything that anybody say just kind of keep me down. So I think just learning to learn just to keep picking myself back up when I do fail in business or with my gym, because I know it's going to happen, it's inevitable. Nobody's perfect. And just kind of being able to pour that kind of energy into kids, just letting them know, I mean, whatever you want to do, you're going to get knocked down, but just keep telling them that, just to keep believing in yourself, and it'll all work out in the end.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's the mindset. I'm actually going through a transition in my business right now, with what I'm doing, from basically learning that how important mindset is. And I think that that's one thing, like you just said, when I was smaller, my business was smaller, I really didn't really take mindset into a huge consideration. I thought it was just a gimmick to try to, for people to kind of show low value. But now that I'm kind of higher up, I'm kind of seeing now how important mindset really is, and understanding those failures. And failures definitely come a lot in business, and you just have to get yourself back up, just like the game. You have to get yourself back up and learning from those mistakes is definitely probably the biggest takeaway there. So do you feel like, as you move forward, do you feel like there's any struggles that from the other end, like any struggles that you feel like you're going to have to overcome when it comes to your journey into, entrepreneurship / business owner?
I think it'll just be, my biggest struggle will just be being patient and not rushing into anything. I mean, it'd be the worst thing I could do to just, I want to do a gym now. I want to do a gym now, and just rush into it and not have the right equipment, the right staff around me, the right building, just everything that I need for me and my business to be comfortable and to flourish. So I think the biggest thing and the hardest thing will just be just staying patient and waiting for the right time to make that move.
Yeah, I mean, watching commercial real estate's a huge thing. Watching, being patient. There's one thing that I've seen in the marketing side, and what I do is I do see a lot of business owners that do try to go fast, and they look at everything else as fast too. They say, hey, I need to build this now. I need to do this tomorrow. And what I've learned from what I've seen from the successful people is, you're right. You want to be patient. You don't need this tomorrow. I mean, I go through it myself with, trying to grow, and, I want to be here, but I go, okay, don't do it too fast or you're going to be upside down, So right. Really having to take that into consideration as you try to, so I think that's really smart, that you're thinking about that now, and definitely working towards that end goal to improve on that. So you said that you're quiet, and you're really much more of a family man, which means you probably don't use social media that much. You probably are very and I mean, I've seen a lot of athletes are like that too, especially with how fans are sometimes. But what are some things that you think other athletes can learn when it comes to building their brands and building themselves online?
I think, to me, the people that I'm most drawn to when I do get on social media is just the people that are authentically themselves. I think that's really important. Not trying to put on a mask and make people think that you're somebody that you're not. And so I think just being yourself, no matter what anybody else thinks, because at the end of the day, nobody else has to live the life that you live. You're the only one that has to live it. So might as well be happy in your own skin and in your own shoes. So just being authentically yourself, I think that's the most important thing.
And I would 100% agree with you. I mean, I really promote on our YouTube channel and all of our talks with our prospects and our clients is authenticity is by far the best way to go. I mean, there's a lot of gimmicks out there, and there's a lot of fake gurus and a lot of stuff that promote, hey, buy this Ferrari and this is in my driveway, or do
Yeah.
this. I have to tell them, like you said earlier, take your time. I'm like, if everyone could make, I mean, look how hard it was for you to get into the, grow, and you made these shifts into the, to in college and into the NFL, and now your transition here. It does. It takes time, takes mindset. And I think that, people can really learn from that, especially with the online space as well, is just be authentic. I'm very big on business. Business is hard. Business is hard. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. You're going to have failures. I'm very authentic when it comes to when I say that to people, because it is. I deal with it every day myself. So I 100% agree with you on that. And so if anyone could take any sort of tips out of this podcast, I would definitely probably agree with you 100% on that and say authenticity. Stay authentic with yourself. If you don't like to post, then don't post. Like, I mean, I'm very one of those people as well. I'm an introvert that I had to turn into an extrovert a little bit for business purposes, but it's hard. I don't like to post stuff on social media. I'm not a selfie kind of guy. I'm much more of a, hey, I like to give you tips. I like to give value where I can online, but that's what I have employees for. I'm much more of a corporate brand, and I like my employees to be the center of the business.
Right.
So with where you're going now, how can you help athletes moving forward? Like what can you do? What are you trying to, with what you're trying to achieve or what you're trying to do? I mean, college athletes, professional athletes, it doesn't matter, but what are you looking at doing to help other athletes grow?
I think the main thing is just being open to communicate. I think once I get on my certifications and everything, and I think I will be working mostly with high school athletes, and I think it's just being open and honest with them when they ask me about college, when they ask me about the NFL and kind of the things that it takes and the things that don't work, is just being honest. And whether it's a college guy asking whatever, a professional guy asking whatever, I think it'll just be, like I said, being open and honest. I mean, we're all competing on the field, but I don't think we got to compete off the field. I think it's important to share experiences, share knowledge, so we can all kind of grow together.
As a community. No, that's great. And that's another big takeaway is, social media is about to be about, and it's not just social media. It's, there's so much into, and it doesn't have to be just marketing, but it can be, building a community of people to help each other. And I mean, we have these things at our fingertip. Let's utilize them correctly and be able to, give guidance and be able to help people. I mean, it's not hard to just pick up your phone and say, hey, I've gone through this, maybe this will help, or giving out information on things that could help people. So I agree with you 100% on that. I really appreciate having you on, man. I definitely look forward to hearing about more of your journey as you take your journey towards being a firefighter, as you take your journey towards opening your own gyms, and definitely don't be afraid to share that journey with the world as you continue to do that, because I think a lot of even business owners struggle, beginner business owners and athletes that are taking that transition struggle with how to do certain things, the pains and the positives. So I definitely encourage you to kind of push that as you continue to take your journey, and I look forward to hearing more about it. Do you want to tell anyone that you would like to reach out, where they can find you at?
I mean, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I mean, just search my name, Tyrone Swoops. I don't know my handles. I'm not, like I said, I don't get on there enough to know, but yeah, I'm on all three of those. And just, if you have any questions or just want to talk to somebody, reach out and I'll respond when I see it.
Oh, great. Well, again, thanks for being on the Brand and Power Analysis, and I hope everyone has a good day.